You might decide that I want to control it with parameters. So I might say, well, do a -1 normally with a parameter, or set it to be minus 10,000 if I want to with a parameter. So I don't have to truncate that fact table if I want to reprocess the data into that fact table. I probably would just truncate it actually. So yeah, incremental processing is a core part of how we might design these pipelines. And we can really get quite cunning. I noticed there was also a cunning step in here. If we have a look at their price cost, they actually get price and cost information every day. And if I have a look at stage price cost, where is it? Price period, I think it is this. They identify when data changes. So they get it every day, but sometimes you don't get a change in the price or some of these costing components for months. And they want to create a type 2 dimension from this. So in order to do that, they basically look for the changes, and they use this qualify statement, this comparing with a lag to the current price as it goes through, and it basically only selects the days where data has changed from the previous day, which I thought was quite neat. And then that publishes into a type 2 dimension. Okay, well, that's enough of that. So yeah, scales up really, really nicely, really leverage the lineage, the metadata, the column level metadata. Very, very powerful, very easy to find where stuff happens. Also gets generated into documentation. So as I have a look at their documentation, and this is intended for sort of the non-developers to use. So someone that's using this information. So if I found a particular sales week, that's the one we were looking at earlier, for that retail SOA, in reality, we could have, the guy that was doing this could have found that out, the detail of where it came from. So he could have looked at the documentation. Now, in reality, there's a placeholder for a data dictionary. So they could have filled that in, given it business descriptions. But if we find that retailer SOA in here, and I hit view, it's going to show the column level lineage in a read-only format. It's going to be the same information. Yikes, that's quite dramatic, isn't it? Okay. But it's showing the same information in a read-only view, so we can get to our transform very easily. Actually, it's a pretty good view of it. Okay. And so, yeah, there is a placeholder for sort of this column level data dictionary information. And any of these nodes, I can come in here and add a description at every attribute. And also at the node itself. Not very well filled out in this example, but tell them off, they're our customer. Customer's always right. Okay. Okay, so yeah, we went from this, which was nice and simple, where we were just adding this dimension table, to that real world example. And you get there surprisingly quickly because it's such a productive environment to work in that, hey, you're going to add nodes very rapidly. You can add nodes en masse. So, for example, if I decided I want to add a view layer over the top of these objects, I can just do it en masse and say, well, add a view for each one of those. And you can see it's added all these extra views on top of it. But there's a lot of things we can do en masse in here. So we saw previously, for example, that we could look at a column view of everything. And I can use that to come in here, for example, and make changes across the entire data warehouse. Now, maybe I want to retrospectively pick every varchar column across the entire data warehouse and turn it into a string. I can just select all those columns based on the data type there, bulk edit them, and change something about them. Change the name, change the data type, add a transform. In this case, I'm just going to say, right, let's change it to being string. Preview that, update it. And now what we've done is we've updated everything apart from the source data. Now we can't change the starting point because we don't really own that. We're just using that. So if we come back to the browser, we can't change these tables. So these are our starting point tables. And usually something else owns those, like Fivetran or something that's loading the data into Snowflake. And so we can't change those. But every other table, so if we have a look at supplier in here, we see all these bar charts. We didn't change that. But anything else, we're going to see a whole bunch of strings in there. Everywhere. It's going to be strings now because we changed it en masse. And now I can just say, well, go out and make sure everything creates okay. So I just chose to create all over here. It's going to go out and test the DDL. It's just going to make sure all of those objects create in Snowflake okay. And I can also hit run all, which is now going to run all of those steps as well. And you can see it's using a bit of parallelism as it goes along.
Just while we wait for that, Doug, those descriptions that you've got in the column level, are they stored in Snowflake?
Yeah,
as well as, yeah?
Yeah, so if I came into dim customer here, and you can see some of these are filled in. Let's just add this for the full customer address, for example. If I go and create this table now, what we'll see in the DDL is it's putting it in as a system comment.
Nice.
And it's also going to appear in the documentation. So if I come here, now I haven't deployed that yet, so that's still sitting in my demo area. If I look at one that's been deployed, well, let's just have a look at that guy and look at dim customer. It's the one we changed, dim customer. You can see that it's going to end up there then. So we've got this column, this table level or node level description, and then all the column level descriptions as well. And the hope and dream is that, people can self-service their support. They see this in a report somewhere and they say, well, tell me more about that. And they don't have to ring you up and ask you about it. They can just look here.